So right now, the Celtics and the Sixers are the 4-5 seeds in the East, which means they would play in round 1, and that's a pretty exciting thing, I get it. But what you really need to be paying attention to is the 6th-seeded Brooklyn Nets, who are one of the most fun teams in the league, and the 3-seeded Indiana Pacers. And if you consider yourself to be more than just a casual fan of the NBA, then this is the series that you really want. Let's get into why. The Indiana Pacers have dealt with adversity all season because they haven't had Victor Oladipo, and even so, they're still winning, playing the most quote-unquote pure basketball you possibly can when everybody's touching the ball and there's no one guy who's above everybody else. And the Brooklyn Nets have embodied that for the past few seasons, as Sean Marks and Kenny Atkinson have done a great job getting the talent, and they play with an underdog chip on their shoulder, which is very similar to the Indiana Pacers. If we get to the actual basketball, you get to see two young stars go at it, Myles Turner and D'Angelo Russell, who's been going nuclear for the last 2 months at this point. I mean, I don't know where these two's ceiling is really at, but they're definitely on the upswing. Isn't that just fun, getting to see stars in their infant stage before they go to some next level? And if you want to say, well, how the hell is Myles Turner considered an upcoming star? Well, the dude's kind of a defensive monster, and if you were looking for a reason as to why the Pacers haven't fallen apart without Oladipo, Myles Turner is a big reason for it. If we get into the matchup between those two, I think it'd be really fun because the way D'Lo works a lot of the time is within the pick and roll, and he takes a lot of floaters and shots in the paint, but not necessarily at the rim. And Myles Turner is swallowing up those shots every single night for Indiana. So something's got to give, whether it's D'Lo figuring out a way to get his shots over Myles, which is certainly possible because he's one of the craftiest ball handlers that we have in the league today, or Myles is going to frustrate the hell out of D'Angelo. A similar thing can be said for Caris LeVert. I don't expect the aggressive Caris if this series were to happen, of course, just because of the time missed, but that would still be fun. Similar thing with Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, the Nets offense really runs through D'Lo and Spence, so could Myles Turner deal with that? He would also have to deal with another young center in Jarrett Allen, who could be joining Myles amongst the best defensive players in the league in a couple of years. And honestly, he may be doing it right now, because Allen has made the Nets one of the 10 best defenses in the league since the new year hit. And he's really versatile. He's not just a stationary dude around the basket. It would also be awesome to see how Allen would defend Turner, because Myles has been more aggressive with his three-point shot lately, which means, of course, you're going to have to step out there. Another reason this series would be great is it is littered with guys that NBA nerds just love. Thad Young, for one, who is not always the prettiest player to watch, not a great three-point shooter, not a great ball handler, but he's so smart, he plays hard, he's a good defensive player, and he's been kind of the glue piece for Indiana for the past few years now. A similar guy to that for the Nets, not Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, which was my original thought, but actually DeMarre Carroll, who's been coming alive lately. In his last 15-ish games, he's up to double digits in points, and he's creeping back towards that Atlanta Hawk DeMarre Carroll. And Kenny Atkinson does a great job with him. Another thing is the amount of great shooters in this series. We've got Boyan on one side, we got three-point champion Joe Harris on the other. To be fair, Joe Harris being in this series at all would be enough for me to talk about it, but the fact that he can be paired off with another one of the best snipers in the league, that's really cool. I don't know why Bogdanović wasn't in the three-point contest, but getting to see these two running around the floor, coming off of screens, pulling up, whether it's in transition or in the pick and roll, because neither one of them are just standstill shooters. They will go off the bounce, they will take it with a guy in their face. I mean, they're both big pieces of these teams' offenses. They don't just stand in the corner. And Indiana just added another shooter in Wesley Matthews. We'll see if he can join that. But now we got to talk about the backup center competition between Domantas Sabonis and Ed Davis. Two of the best hustlers in the league. I mean, we've seen the way that Sabonis has rerouted his career, and Ed Davis is basically the modern-day Reggie Evans. So getting to see these two just trade elbows and fouls and probably get into a fight or two would be something that only like 4% of NBA fans would love, but we would really freaking love it. So I think you get the vibe that I'm going for. There's a lot of likable players who would be matched up on one another, and these two teams play basketball the right way. This series goes a little deeper than that, though. Remember Thad Young? He was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Indiana Pacers for a first-round pick. We could get an extra motivated Thad Young, which could be a sight to behold. The guy he was traded for was Caris LeVert. Now, I don't have the timing of it all in front of me. For all I know, he wasn't even technically drafted by Indiana yet. But is there a chance that LeVert goes into the series with the mentality of, I'm going to prove to you guys that you should have drafted me? You could say the same thing for Bojan, because he was a Brooklyn Net before being traded for a first-round pick that I believe turned into Jared Allen. So we could get a gunslinging Bojan Bogdanovic. I don't know why the hell I want this series so much, but I really, really do, and hopefully it happens.